Awesome. This is Your Average Coach podcast. I'm Anthony Woods. I'll let my guest introduce himself, and then I'll kind of talk a little bit about himself, about him. So, introduce yourself, please.
All right. I appreciate you having me on, Anthony. My name is Matt Pepin. I'm the Director of Analytics here at Coastal Carolina University. This is my second season full-time with the program. We're coming off a year where we went to the College World Series final in Omaha. Pretty remarkable year. That was my first year with the team full-time. I went to school at Coastal, graduated in 2024. And my specialty is analytics and player development. I handle all the day-to-day data collection, interpreting it to players and coaches, scouting reports, and anything on the player development analytics side relating to recruiting or any part of the program. So I'm happy you have me on here today, and I'm excited to talk coaching.
Heck yeah. So, we talked briefly before. From Connecticut, had some family that moved to Myrtle Beach. And then they were like, you got to check this place out. Beautiful weather. So he takes the hike from Connecticut on down to Myrtle Beach or to Coastal Carolina and obviously falls in love with it. He stays there, graduates with his bachelor's in recreation and sports management, was the student manager of the analytics and video department, correct?
Yep.
And then graduates and takes on the job as the director full-time. And so you have kind of like the same background as me as it pertains to like education. Mm-hmm. I was going to go to school to be a PE teacher, got a job in Parks and Rec, ended up, moving up the chain really fast and people liked me, and then went to the business field and changed my major to sports management and organizational leadership, and then hated it. And it was like, I need to go back into what I love. So that was coaching and education. So I have a little bit of experience in that
Absolutely.
field.
Yep.
But yeah, dude, sports has always been like my thing. Like,
Yep.
even before like I was playing any sports, I was like, I'm just intrigued. Like, I liked the uniforms. I liked like old school Raptors jerseys. That was my thing. Vince Carter, T-Mac, fell in love. But yeah, sports has always been my thing. And then like as I started to coach, I realized, knock on wood, that I'll continue to keep doing this for a long time, but analytics is super important. And I think now track coaches are starting to use analytics now more than ever. Mm-hmm. And it's not so much just like what you do on meet day, but it's what are you doing in practice, right? And I think football teams are starting to adapt it now. They're starting to track how much distance a kid is running in practice weekly, and like it's becoming such like a huge part of, I think, every sport's really DNA right now. Like, and so the reason I reached out to Matt was because I saw a post that a kid posted on Twitter, and it was a very detailed breakdown of everything that he had did at you guys' camp, right?
Yep.
Was this a camp that he attended? And it was amazing. It was like almost a tangible thing that he could take home after he left the camp, and things that he could break down and work on. And I thought it was just ingenious because most times, in my experience, and then watching other people's experience, is that they go to a camp, they pay the fee, they get a good job, or hey, this is some things you could do better, and then they just get sent home, right? And they don't have anything to like really look back on to and see like, okay, cool, here's some boxes that I need to check off, right, in order to get to where I want to go. And obviously Coastal Carolina is on the up and up. I mean, I know you guys have been a solid program, but it seems like you guys are really getting over that hump. And I had to reach out. I was like, that's genius. Obviously the kids appreciate it. And so like how did that come about? Like, how did that become a thing? Which I think is going to be the standard from now on.
Yeah, no, it's obviously blown up, and I'm really happy that people have liked what we've done and how we're doing it. But it just came, I don't remember exactly who it was, but in a bunch of our meetings, our coaches are like, hey, like, we should implement some sort of player evaluation where they get something tangible, something they can go home with and see exactly how they perform, what they did. We've always done camps, honestly, at an extremely high level. You'll see everywhere, like everyone loves coastal baseball camps. We do more camps than anyone in the country, and we get players from almost every single state. We recruit most of our roster from these camps. So obviously, the best thing you can get out of one of our camps is for us to recruit you and us to take you on. But obviously, with the amount of guys we get, we can't recruit everyone, but we want them to leave our camp with a piece of information, analytics, and they can go to their trainer or their coach and say, like, all right, this is what I need to do to get better to play at the Division I level. So what we ended up coming up with, one of our assistant hitting coaches, Connor Owings, he came up and he's doing all the hitting, and I'm doing all the pitching. So we're kind of spearheading it together. That being said, every coach in our organization is taking notes on every player. At the end of each camp, we come together. All right, Connor, I saw this hitter, this hitter, this hitter. I like this. I didn't like this. I handle all the pitching, get with the pitching coaches. We saw this, this, this. And then we're also, what isn't shown in there was we're sending them a TrackMan report. So we have a TrackMan system. Every pitch that's thrown, we get the movement, the velocity, the location. So they're getting the full plot like our pitchers would get. So I just got done with a bullpen on the field, and once we're done with this, I'm going to go ahead and send our pitcher his report for how he just threw. So everything
That's
that we
awesome.
do, we collect data, we send it out. So we wanted to take what we do with our guys at Coastal and get it out to the players that come to our camp and show them exactly, like, all right, here's where you are now, and here's where you need to be to play at a school like Coastal. Because everyone wants to go to Omaha. Everyone wants to win a national championship. So we're trying to tell guys how they can do that to where we can recruit them and ultimately bring them in as a part of our program.
That's awesome. And so, have you noticed that maybe a kid that might come as I don't know, is there like an age limit on how old you can be to?
We have different camps for different ages, but
Okay.
these are mostly high school age looking to be recruiting. So recruitable players, that camp we just has mostly like a junior in high school.
Got it. So do you notice that because of this, that some kids are starting to come back, or some kids that might be on the cusp of deciding that was maybe one of the things that put them over or put you guys over the edge for them?
Yeah. So honestly, I didn't include this in what I just said, but so that evaluation right there, that was from our first day of rolling out evaluations. We've only done it for one camp so far.
Wow.
It was a huge success. It took us 6 days, so from when camp ended, for us to write. There were 44 reports. So 6 days, we wrote all those out. We got them emailed out, extreme detail, and they were checked and reread by multiple coaches, each of them. But that was our first one. We've got more camps in December, so it's ccubaseballcamps.com if anyone's interested. But it's all on our website, and we're hoping moving forward it gives us some more campers and good reviews.
Yeah, for sure. And any of those links, please send them to me, and I'll make sure that I get those put in the descriptions as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, because so like I barely know anything about baseball. I watched the World Series, and I watched the last 2 games. I watched games 6 and 7, and that was literally the first games I'd watched all baseball season. And I was like, oh my God, these are like intense games. Like I know like the bare minimum. Like I know what a batting average is. I know what like an error is. Obviously a steal, right? But like I don't know the ins and outs. I don't know like when I should throw a slider or this type of pitch. Like I have no idea. So I was like, this is gonna be awesome because I get to learn about a sport that I'm not familiar with and get some information. But the fact that you guys are fairly new into this process, what do you expect to be a return on investment in the short term, I guess?
Yeah, so I think most importantly, it gets guys to come to our camps and be seen, and then on the flip side, it gets them to come back. So maybe they got a report from us. They say, all right, we say you need to be at 90 miles an hour on your fastball. That guy adds a few miles an hour. He gets stronger, gets in the weight room, gets a little more mobile, does some of the things we say. Maybe he comes back in 6 months throwing 90 miles an hour, and now he's that guy that we're interested in that maybe we couldn't really do anything with before. So I think that's a big potential positive that can come from that.
That's awesome. How does like NIL and stuff like that, how does that affect you guys in baseball?
Yeah, obviously it's massive. We're very fortunate. We've got an athletic administration that backs us at the highest level, so we're able to have some resources to be able to compete with the teams we need to beat. However, we need to be really strategic and resourceful with what we have. But yeah, I'm not going to stand here and say like we're not a part of it, we're not using it. We obviously. It's the way the game is right now, right? We just lost the national championship game to LSU, so we're as good as anyone, and it's up to us to be able to get the financials, get the resources to not only be able to bring in the players we want, but to be able to retain the players we already have.
That's awesome. When you are evaluating the needs of your teams, postseason, right after everything's done, what is like what's the first process, or what's the first step in the process now, because you have things like the transfer portal and stuff like that? Because
Yeah.
I know some programs, not so much in baseball, I'm not sure, but I know some programs as it pertains to like football and track are more willing to go to the portal rather than, maybe go to this raw talent out of high school. So how does that process look for you guys?
Yeah, I would say we have a very good blend.
Okay.
So we're most importantly we're looking at least a year in advance at all times. Like when we have a staff meeting, we're getting our current depth chart and next year's depth chart, and you'll see next year we've got some gaps open. But once the season ends, we should have all the high schoolers that we need. Most of our positions, right? But then you got the MLB draft. So this past year we lost a catcher, we lost 4 pitchers. So the catcher we knew we were going to lose, 3 pitchers we knew we were going to lose, and 1 pitcher we weren't really sure. Obviously he was talented, good enough to get drafted. We weren't quite sure if which way he was going to go.
Yeah.
So we hadn't 100% prepared for that. When he ended up getting drafted, though, we go into the portal and we get a pickup to fill those innings that we needed. So we added a bunch of guys from the portal. We added a shortstop, a catcher, a starting pitcher, a reliever, all in the portal. So we went into the postseason, the off season, I should say, knowing we were going to sign a few guys. But for the most part, we're not looking to sign half a team or a whole team. We're looking to plug holes that we maybe didn't know we were going to have.
Got it. And so I teach sports marketing. That's one of my classes that I teach. How many guys do you have on scholarship at your school, so that like kids maybe watching can get like a understanding? Because sometimes we have this like warped perception as high schoolers, like, oh, I can get a scholarship, and it's like, oh, that's just...
So baseball is interesting. Baseball just had a massive rule change to allow up to 34 scholarships. However, most schools, and I don't know any that do actually have all 34. So in the past, it's been 11.7 scholarships per Division I baseball team, which if you do the math, that's not a lot. So going back a long time, up until last year, you had 40 roster spots and 11.7 scholarships. So do the math there. Almost, obviously, no one's really getting a full scholarship, but everyone's just kind of getting a little piece of that pie. Now, schools are able to have more depending on the school. We're kind of in that transition period, so no one really knows the exact details. But just going, what I would say to high schoolers, like you really can't expect at most universities to have a full scholarship or really even close to that. But generally from what we've seen, you can kind of earn that as you go. Maybe you go in with what you are at a high school, and then as you play, as you perform, potentially get more money as you go.
Yeah, and the same thing is kind of in track. Like there's not as much money, right? It's not a moneymaker like football, so you're really fighting for these halves or these partial scholarships, and you're depending on the rest being, hey, you're good in the classroom, right? And that's what I try to get through to most of these kids is like, you may be talented, but there's 50,000 other kids that are talented as well.
Yeah.
So what puts you over the edge? Okay, well, there's a few things that you can control, right? Your character, that's number one, right? How you act every day, and then your school, right? Are you taking care of the classroom, right? You're a student athlete, and so if you can take care of those other things, maybe that puts you over the hump.
No doubt. You drilled it with the school thing there, so I can tell you just sitting in our staff meetings, we're talking about a player we really like him. Maybe we only have 40% for a guy. The next question, honestly, sometimes the first question, it's what are the grades? It's a daily question in our staff meetings. What are his grades like? What are his grades like? Oh, that's awesome. He qualifies for the presidential scholarship at our school. He's a 4.0 student. Perfect. That's another X percent. So it's able to academics are what's going to pay for a lot of the school. And if you take care of that in high school, all it is work ethic, right? If you take care of that, it goes a long way into your athletics career.
Yeah. Yeah, kids don't quite understand that sometimes, and I was one of those kids that didn't quite understand it. I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, like, well, I'm talented, I work
Yeah.
hard, but it's like put that little bit of extra attention into the schooling, and it'll do wonders for you.
Absolutely.
So, for you guys, obviously, I would imagine you guys have some type of recruiting standard. Like for track, let's say I'm at DePaul, right? I just talked to the coach recently, right? He gave me the recruiting standard. So, like, I have to run a 21-7. Like that, you have to run that to get a scholarship. What are some of those requirements that some of the kids have to meet to make you guys' roster?
Yeah. So one big thing is running the 60 yard right,
Okay.
running straight sprint speed. That's important to us. It depends on position. So we have a chart. Like if you were to come to our camp, if you're this position, we're looking for this. If you're this position, looking for this. But generally, we're looking for at the bare minimum when they get here, like a 7.0 runner, but ideally better. We're looking to like the 6.8 or lower range,
Okay.
also depending on position. Then is for pitchers, the number one kind of what's going to get you seen through the door is that velocity. So how hard do you throw? Our goal with guys that are on campus is 90 miles an hour.
Got it.
A younger guy, we're probably comfortable with like your 87, 88. But there's so many things that factor into it. How do you spin the baseball? Do you
Yeah.
throw strikes? Do you compete? Like, are you a dog out there? What's your frame look like? We want taller guys. It's the truth. If you're a smaller guy, you've got to already throw a little bit harder. You've got to already be a little more competitive. There's really any body type and within reason we're able to take. It's just you've got to make up for some of your faults if you don't meet some of our standards. But I would say for a position player, so a hitter, sprint speed is kind of like the main. All right, we can look at you unless there's huge power, right? A bigger, stronger dude. And then for pitching, it's velocity. How hard do you throw? But
Got it.
we do have all those numbers in writing. We send them out to our campers. And it is important that we're obviously recruiting at a high level because, like I said before, we're in the Sun Belt Conference, but we're trying to beat LSU.
Yeah.
We're trying to beat SEC teams, and we did a good job of that last year, but we just kind of gonna knock down that door here soon.
Yeah. Yeah. So, if you had someone like a catcher per se, right?
Yep.
Maybe I guess I don't, and I'm just from the outside looking in. I don't want to, disrespect anybody. May not be as athletic as some of your outfielders,
Yep.
right? So those numbers will be a little skewed,
Yes.
obviously. Is there like a size, like a certain size that you're looking for at a position like that as well, that maybe isn't as athletic?
Yeah, no, it's I think we're always looking for athletes, but to your point, it's almost a different type of athleticism behind the plate.
Got
So
it.
they're probably not going to be able to run in a straight line as well, but we're looking for catchers that have good hip mobility, guys that move around in like a low position good. Size catching wise, honestly, isn't really a massive driver. We want a good athlete, a good size, but I wouldn't say there's necessarily an exact size there. But to your point, yeah, we want our outfielders to have really good speed. They got to cover a lot of ground. They've got to be able to do some things offensively as well as defensively. So we're looking for good foot speed out there. Whereas a position like catcher, first base, we don't need quite as much there.
For sure. So when you started in the program, and you started off as the student manager, what were some of your tasks?
Yeah, great question. So the main task was data collection. So like I said before, we have TrackMan. So every pitch that comes in, it's going to tell us the velocity, the spin, how it moved, where it crossed the plate, how hard it was hit, how far it was hit. So we need manual people, we need interns to tag that information. So, all right, the pitcher was Cameron Flukie, the hitter was Caden Bodon, and it was a single, this and that. So just data collection, video recording, making sure all the cameras are on at all times. And then it kind of graduated into, all right, writing reports, like what's my analysis? How do I feel about this guy? This and that. And then it turned into more of a full blown coaching position of being able to relay that information to players on the field as well as the coaches.
Yeah. And what position did you play?
I played third base and pitched.
Okay. And so how were you able to translate some of the things that you had already experienced as a athlete into now your coaching position or your director position? How were you able to take some of those skills as an athlete and now on the other side, like how were you able to merge those two?
Yeah, I think they merge honestly in a lot of ways. I'm kind of in a unique position where I'm someone who understands all the data, but also I have a pretty good feel of the stuff on the field, and understanding there's a lot more that go into it. There's a lot of young data analysts and people in data that they just look at the numbers. They'll say one thing, all right, we can do this, but it's important to understand the athlete, the human being, the competitiveness, and understanding, all right, this guy probably won't be able to do that because of X, Y, and Z, instead of just looking at a number and being like, all right, like let's do that. So I think being a player, and just experiencing the game from the field is an important piece to being someone that blends the two together.
Yeah. When you're communicating this data to the athletes, how are you able to, I guess, convey the message in a way that's, I guess, simple? Because data isn't always the most simple thing, right?
Yeah.
And some of these guys that come to you are probably raw at first, right?
Yeah,
I just throw the ball hard, Like I know it's 90 miles per hour, but like how do you translate those like minute details to them in a way that they can like take with them?
Yeah, that's such a good question. That's $1 million question, and I honestly think that's one of the things we do so well here. But it's not just the players; it's the coaches. Like I've got a coach on staff that I can just go to and be like, "Hey, here's the data," and say big words. And I got other guys where it's like, "What does that mean?" They understand the philosophy, they understand what we're trying to do, but they might not understand the exact verbiage that we're using. So it depends on the player. So I'll call him out, but he's going to be like the top 10 pick in the draft, Cameron Flukie. He's a guy, he's in year 3. And what we do with our players here, we'll sit him down in the classroom a few times a year. This is what this stat means. This is what this means. This is what we're looking for. He's at the point where through 3 years, he'll see the number on the screen before me and like beat me to say what I'm going to say.
That's awesome.
It's perfect. So for him, I can get technical, right? He's about to be a mega millionaire in the pros. He's a guy that we can just talk numbers like this. We got another freshman. It's kind of funny. Like he threw a pitch the other day. It was nasty, and our pitching coach like points at the board and says, "You know what that means?" And he was like, "No." And our pitching coach goes, "Well, it was nasty. Do that again." So he's the guy, right? We're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
But he's going to learn. He's going to keep seeing it. But right now, like, honestly, we don't really care. If you can do it and you can compete, go ahead and do it. We'll handle the numbers.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like on my side of things, what I'm trying to find the balance of is kids are excited at the fact that they're running these speeds, right? And we've simplified it now, so it's not velocity as like meters per second. Like, oh, you're at 10.21 meters per second, like, right? So it's like, hey, you ran 21 miles an hour, like that's awesome, right? But for me as a coach, finding the balance between, hey, you're not going to be the fastest today, but I still need this information. So don't get fixated on the fact that, hey, maybe you're only at 20 miles an hour today, right? Like realizing like, hey, that was your 4th rep. It's not going to be the same as your 2nd, right? Sometimes it's just me tracking the data so that I can see, hey, this is how much capacity you can take on. Hey, at your 3rd rep, this is when we start to see a fall off. Or I can see that your acceleration is strong, your top end speed isn't as good. And so what I've been doing recently was really trying to figure out what data that I was able to get, because I'm at a high school, right? So I don't have the access to certain things like
Yeah.
you guys have, or a D1 program or something like that. So I have limited space, limited resources, but what can I get with the resources that I have, like with the space that I have? How much data can I track that I can transfer into outdoor? Maybe there's some key indicators that say, hey, this kid has great acceleration, poor top end speed. When we work on our top end speed, how does that translate to the 100-meter dash, or et cetera? So I feel like I'm trying to find that balance between giving information to satisfy the kids,
Yep.
but also, tapering expectations as it pertains to, like, hey, you're not going to be, Superman every day.
Absolutely. No, you drilled it with that also. I mean, it goes both ways, right? And there's sometimes here we'll just keep it for the coaches. Like, all right,
Yeah.
hey, we know the data is a little different because of these reasons, so we're just keeping it to ourselves. But like, we had a pitcher throw today, and he just wasn't thrilled with a bunch of numbers, and we just keep seeing him look back at the screen, and we've got to tell him like, hey man, like, no, it's down because you're not competing right now. Like we're just in a very stable, we're in a calm setting. Like those go up as the adrenaline goes up. Like
Yeah.
we're like we look at all the numbers, like we're not we don't see any red flags. We're not upset with today, so you can't be either. Like
Exactly.
go out there and we're going to compete, in a few months, and that's when it's going to show up where you want it.
So what are some of the things that you're looking at with your athletes, minus pitching? Like, what other data are you guys tracking in this current moment, as you gear towards, getting ready for your season?
Yeah, so every time we take batting practice on the field with our offense, we have our exit velocity, launch angle, distance, and then a picture of the strike zone up on the board. So our main goal is because of what the data tells us, we want to hit our balls between 10 and 30 degrees in batting practice. So we don't want any ground balls and we don't want any pop up straight in the air. So we're taking swings and we can look up at the board. All right, 19 degrees, perfect. We're taking swings. 20
Wow.
degrees, perfect. Next one, 44. That's not what we want. The hitter knows it off the bat, but just kind of seeing that number is like, okay, we got to make an adjustment. We want to hit the ball out, not up or down.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. When you guys are preparing for your season, are you guys still like hitting the weights pretty hard, or what's the training like for you guys as it pertains to, like, your physical attributes? Like, how do you guys manage that?
So we lift all year round, even through the season. Obviously, the volume and the weight of that changes a little bit. We do have a full-time strength coach, Mike Thompson. We got him from the Baltimore Orioles a few years back. He's unbelievable, but he understands, like, it's not just, we're not a program that lifts super heavy. We do a lot of different lifts, and we do a lot of different mobility and flexibility stuff. We've got access to all these different things, and we're trying to get as strong as we possibly can, but maintain the strength and be as healthy as we possibly can. So it's his job to kind of, as well as our athletic trainer, to work together to get that load correct. But we are lifting throughout the entire year. However, it's usually not crazy heavy lifts.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when you are, let's say, when does your season start, actually? When does your season start?
February 13th is opening day.
Okay. As you're gearing up towards opening day, what are some of the things that you guys have to make sure you take care of, like managing your team wise? Like, what are some of those things, like for you per se, and like the coaches?
Yeah. So most importantly, is to, pitchers' arms are so volatile. It's like a very precious thing. So making sure our pitchers' arms time up, with the slowdown the last few weeks up until opening day is big. So we have a schedule mapped out every single day through opening day, and even beyond, where our pitcher's going to throw 90 feet this day, 120 feet this day, then they're off, then they throw a bullpen. So mapping that out so our arms are in shape is a big deal. And on the other side, from like a team perspective, is once our arms start to get in shape, we're taking live at bats. So we want our pitchers to face our hitters so
Nice.
they're comfortable seeing live game speed. Then it goes into all of our plays, all of our defenses, all of our bunting. Like, we need to be tightened up as a team. We need to be able to play good catch. We need to know our first and third defenses, our first and third offenses. And then going into the 3 weeks before opening day, 2 weeks before, it's scouting. Do we know the other team? We've watched all the video. What can they possibly do to us? What do their pitchers do, and how do we combat that? And then that brings us right up to opening day. We should be in a good spot and ready to compete.
That's awesome. So then you said your strength and conditioning coach was Matt Thomas, you said, or
Mike Thompson.
Mike Thomas. How does he approach keeping those athletes that you are recruiting that are fast? Like, how does he deal with that?
Yeah.
Like that.
So everyone's got an individualized plan, very precise with them. If we've got a guy that like desperately needs to add weight, it's obviously walking him through the diet, what he needs to do on his own, but as well as putting on the weight through our weight training. If we've got a guy who needs to maybe slow him down, they might be on a different program with more speed and agility training. So it's individualized by the guy, and it's just a mixture of exactly what they need, whether that's speed, strength, combination, flexibility, mobility. It kind of all goes back to the athlete.
Yeah, that's a life. And then you also are the bench coach for the collegiate national team, correct?
Yeah, I did that back in 2024. That is at the time like a one-time thing, but I definitely want to get back into Team USA. That was unbelievable.
And what was that experience like? Can you tell me about? Because I'm ignorant. So
yeah, so the collegiate national team is in the summer, and it's the best freshmen and sophomores in college baseball. So we've got guys from every single team, all the elite programs, and what we did was we competed against a bunch of different teams. So we played summer, like all-star teams. So like the Coastal Plains League, they have an all-star team. We played against them. Then we also played a series against Taiwan. All of these were like friendly exhibition games, just kind of getting the guys ready, getting them used to Team USA, like kind of showing them what it's like to wear USA on your chest and like play for the country. And just being a part of that was unbelievable. My job was I handle all the scouting, all like the practice plans. I helped with lineup creation, positioning of our defenders, all that kind of scouting, day-to-day stuff, and just kind of being able to see those guys compete on a day-to-day basis was really cool, because it's just like your super all-star team.
Yeah,
I'm excited to watch those guys play professionally and then play for Team USA in the future.
That's awesome. That sounds like such an incredible thing to be a part of.
Yeah.
I don't really have any specific questions like left for you. Like that's awesome, man. It seems like you guys are doing a great job. Again, I think that those detailed breakdowns are something that's like invaluable to the athletes. And I think it's going to be the standard going forward. I mean, there might be other schools doing it, but that was the first time I had seen it. But I think that a lot more colleges are going to be doing it after that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be rooting for you guys, and I'm super, super thankful again for your time. Is there anything else that you want to talk about as it pertains to like Coastal and what you guys have coming up, or anything like that, like camps wise, anything that kids can look forward to?
Yeah, so if any kids are listening, I would say our camps are always open. We love our camps. It's ccubaseballcamps.com. I can go ahead and send you that link. But,
yeah.
That's really all I got. I appreciate you having me on. I always enjoy plugging our program, what we're doing, and how we made strides here. And I definitely want to keep in touch. This was a great conversation.
I heard we got some great kids on the team here, so I'm hoping that some of them watch and meet some of the standards, and we can send some kids your way. That'd be awesome.
That'd be unbelievable.
Heck yeah, appreciate it. Thank you so much for being on. That's your UrAvgCoach podcast, and on to next one.
Thanks for having me,
dude. That was awesome, dude. Yo.
I mean, be ready to be blown away.
UrAvgCoach podcast. Tune in, baby.